it was like stopping at the gas station and filling up on inspiration, right? And filling
Yeah.
up on goodness and filling up on like encouragement and love and just all these good things. It's such a great group of women. Um, and laughter, lots of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So
just
important.
because we all, like, will share about our kids and this and that, and, like, it's hysterical because, if every time I share, like, something heavy is happening with my kids, and then somebody else will share something that's much lighter, but it's just as meaningful.
Welcome to Spark Me, a podcast for women who know life is just getting interesting.
Each week, we spark great conversations, share lived experiences, real resources, and tap into the collective wisdom that comes from learning together.
If you're looking for connection, not perfection, fresh ideas, and a community where you truly belong,
Then pull up a chair. You're in the right place. Welcome to Spark Me.
well, hello, Michelle. It's so great to see you.
Hey, Liz. It's always great to see you. It's awesome.
We had a terrific episode last week with Nora Isaacs,
Y-
and she was a college friend of yours. Is that right?
Yeah, it was so great to reconnect. We actually had to talk ahead of time so that I didn't make our entire conversation like catch up because I could have gone on forever. But Nora was just always one of those people who, when you get to college, you meet people who you've never met people like them before, right? Like all of a sudden the pool is so much bigger. And she just had that laid back way, so, like I said, so emotionally intelligent, like a different kind of cool, like a cool that I didn't even know existed kind of cool, and like a funny
Yeah.
her sense of humor is just so infectious. And she ended up the way we met was she was in the room right next door to me in Gates Hall. So we just became friends. It was great. Yeah.
Well, I that was the first time I had met her, and I absolutely loved her. And I think that that episode, first of all, she has a very calming way about her, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so, that it was an incredibly relaxing episode to even listen to a second and third time. But there were so many nuggets of wisdom peppered throughout that episode, and that's what I loved about it.
I I couldn't agree more. It was just like I listened to it a couple times too, Liz, and every time I'm like, "Wait a minute, I didn't pick up on that before." It was like layered, right?
Yeah.
He just such so interesting, and she always has been like just such an interesting person. Like we touched on different parts of her life, but it's one of those things where we didn't even hit so many things, right? Like,
I know, I
because we
know.
wanted to get to something like that was very like important to our listeners. But when we were at Lafayette, she had this kind of cool side newspaper called the Vid, and it was like the more interesting one that everybody wanted to read. Like it
Yeah,
was because it was more relevant. Does that make sense? It was more relevant.
sure,
It was more plugged
sure.
into who we were and the times and, um, the voices of the students, and it was, like, again, super cool, just like her. But yeah, I just felt that we got, like, there's so what's one thing that you picked up from that you didn't expect, Liz?
Well, I mean, I think that there were so many. Truthfully, I thought when she opened our conversation talking about standing at the hot dog cart and getting knocked over by the cart that got hit by an 18-wheeler. And she was like laying there thinking, I think the universe is telling me something. I think that that so often happens, right? Like that maybe the path that you're on doesn't fit you anymore for whatever reason. But sometimes you have to get knocked over,
I
literally
hear
and
that too.
figuratively, by the universe before you pay attention and say, okay, I'm going to change paths. And that's what she did. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially women.
She listened, she listened to us. She listened to
Mhm.
going back to listening to your gut, right? I think it was like that kind of mix of like her gut was telling her, time for a change, and then not hot dog cart knocked some sense into her. But it was also, and I couldn't help laughing. I know it was, like, very serious. She got knocked over. It was, like, a serious thing, but it was funny too, right? Like, it was like
Right, like,
something
what
that
are
was
the
you could get hit by
odds?
a hot dog cart, and that's what, like, woke you up, right? It just very, very Nora. But I also, I forgot she was a musician, and, I thought, like, that threshold choir was such a beautiful thing, and you posted it,
Ugh,
Liz. That
it
really struck
yeah.
me.
When she said, I actually wrote it down when I was listening to the episode. When she said that they sing to people on the threshold of life, both at the beginning and the end. That I connected with that for some reason. I thought it was beautifully put. And the idea that you could bring harmony into a situation that can be very stressful. I mean, even, if you have a child in the NICU, I mean, even though that's a wonderful thing that you brought this life in, you're very stressed because of all the complications that little vulnerable child is facing. And to bring that sort of calming presence to the NICU, and then on the opposite side of it, in hospice care, bringing that to people that are, you know, about to pass over. Just, I thought it was just beautiful. And I really hope that people hear that and get inspired to start chapters in their communities.
Yeah, that's I did not realize it was a chapter, like, you could start one.
Hmm.
I would love to do that, but nobody would wanna hear me sing on any threshold. It doesn't
I'm the same way. I have the worst singing voice in the world. Not even my dog really wants to hear me sing.
I offend myself when I sing, and, like, I was, like, I can't play an instrument, I can't sing,
Mhm.
but that makes me appreciate it more, and I what is it about music that touches us so much, right? That just, like, it brings that next, use the word again, that next layer to life, that next kind of something that overlays the story, that makes it more emotional and more meaningful.
Mhm.
And you see it in movies, right? If you watch a movie without the
Right.
music, it's not the same. But
It's
you add
so
that
true.
music, and then suddenly you're emoting and you're feeling, and it's like it's grabbed you, and you are on the edge of your seat, or you're crying, or whatever it might be. And just, I can just imagine being on those thresholds, and how what a gift having beautiful music must be, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I really do hope people get inspired to start if you have more talent than somebody out there has more talent than Liz and I. We'll talk.
Exactly.
We'll talk, somebody will
Exactly.
sing. That would be so
The
good.
other thing that I took away, well, again, there were really quite a few things that I took away from it. The next thing I would say is I loved her morning writing practice where
Mhm.
she talked about just putting the pen to paper, not lifting your fingers, and just writing whatever comes to your mind at that time for a solid like 10 minutes, and how therapeutic that was. And I
Mm,
thought, gosh, I feel like that would be such a stress reliever.
mhm.
You don't have to go back and read it. Like, once you've written it, you've done it, you've gotten it out, you move on. And what a way, and to start your day with a clean slate like that. I thought that was very like a great pearl of wisdom.
That really was. Yeah, and it that again goes back to writing being so innate in her family, and something that,
Mhm.
I'm not surprised that that's a way she starts her day. And I really, we should challenge each other to try that for a week, Liz, because I don't know if I'll do it without
Yeah.
accountability, right? But w I love the story because I did this to my kid once, but I love the story where she got into the car crash or the car accident, and her parents made because she took the car out she wasn't supposed to, whatever, and her parents made her write about it. It must have been so different growing up with 2 therapists for parents.
I know. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh.
You have to be so grounded, right?
I was laughing because that reminded me when I was a kid, I did have my driver's license, so I wasn't like, not allowed to drive. But I took the car out at night without letting my parents know that I secretly went out and I took the car out to go to a party when I was in high school, and a deer ran and hit the side of the car. He like ran into the car.
Of course.
And so I was like, "Oh my god, how am I going to explain this?" And I take and there's clearly a dent in the side of the car. And I don't say a word, and nobody says anything to me about it. And I'm like shocked. I mean, and I'm like, okay, well, I got away with it. So I'm not going to like open up a can of worms. And I'm not kidding you, like 15 years later, I mean, I was in like my late, maybe it was, 12 years later, but I was in my late 20s. And I'm talking to my mom, and we were like out or something. My dad was there, and the three of us are talking. And she's like, "Yeah, like, remember that time that Carol Druniak hit my car when she opened up her driver's side door?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "You know that big dent that I had in my car?" And I was like, "You think Carol Druniak did that?" And she said, "Oh, I know she did it at the golf course." And I'm like, I hate to tell you, Mom, but I took the car out to go to the party when I wasn't allowed and I could deal with it. And I totally messed up. And I felt so bad because my mother held this grudge against this woman for years.
Scratched her off the friend list. How dare she?
And I was just like, all I could think about is, yeah, I did not, I probably, owe some karma to somebody somewhere because of that. But
It all
it was just
comes
very funny.
around. Right? It all comes around. I love it. Yeah, and I also loved the beauty of what she's doing with the way all of her writing and storytelling and working in all those different fields, like from tech writing to yoga journals and helping other people write books, like literally like editing. Um,
Hmm.
and then just coming back around to like this is all about telling people stories and then literally helping people tell their stories and capture their lives. Um, I think what really like Liz, we've always said like part of what we do here is like we talk to sort of the heroes that walk among us. You might not know their names, but they're these
Hmm.
women who are everywhere. And I feel like in some ways everybody has a story. Like a real like
Yeah.
if you've gotten through life, you have a good story to tell. And
Hmm.
what a way to capture it so that someday somebody can know you who doesn't know you, right? And I thought I'm so glad you had asked her about, like, do you use AI? Because I know there are, like, AI, um, I say companies out there that, like, you can interact with AI and it'll make the book. And I was just thinking about that and how we talked about authenticity being the currency of the future, and how
Hmm.
talking to someone like Nora, who as a human being can ask questions differently, can process your answers differently, can think about what that next question is based on the answer you just gave. I think there's just something really special about that that I don't think there's a place for that other, for those like a really nice place for those other companies, but to me what Nora is doing is like so authentic and so human, you know.
I totally agree. And I also think that people forget that their stories are their family's legacy. When you think about, say, the Jewish religion or the Catholic religion or any sort of, uh, you know, long standing culture. It's stories passed down over generations. And if you think of your family as having its own culture, it can't continue that culture if you don't pass down the stories from the previous generations, right? And so I think people need to think about that, that their family core, whether, your grandfather was a coal miner who dropped out of school in third grade, like that's a story. Whether you have your family came over from Italy and, with nothing in their pockets and they, started, you know, um, a business or whatever it is, that legacy, you want it to continue so that even if you're, three generations away, they don't know you know, their great grandfather, they still have that connection of what their family history is. And I don't think a genealogy table captures that. I think you really need the family stories in order to preserve that legacy.
If like the generations before us, if there were books to read about each of their lives, that's all I'd read. Like,
Yeah.
that is because I mean, I love fiction, but I really love nonfiction. I really love reading about people, like real things that real people did. And I think I would go back as far as I could, just reading, 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 and maybe now with technology in general, we'll know more. There's a bigger digital footprint, right? So we'll know more than we ever did
Mhm.
know about who people were and what they looked like and sounded like and whatnot. But to really capture the essence of who they are and have that as something to pass down. Um, because believe it or not, isn't it weird to think that someday people will really care about, like, your life? Right? Like,
Yeah.
but they will,
Right?
right? Like, somebody will wanna know, who was Liz and how did she get to be who she was? And we just did your story, and it fascinated me. I would
Mhm.
read that book all day long. And so, like, I just really think it's a special thing that, it's a really special way of capturing and in a book more than any like, in a book, you can still turn a page, right? You can feel it,
Mhm.
smell it.
Mhm.
Even if you listen to it or it's digital, there's still something about, like, it's a book, uh,
Right.
that somebody cared enough to put who you are into writing and talk about a way to if you want immortality, like, some people do it through their kids, but I think if you have a book out there that's about you, you don't have to be, you know Queen Elizabeth, right? To have a book written about you. You can be you
Right.
and be just as interesting in your own way. And I know people who if like I have a friend whose mom says you wouldn't believe like nobody would believe my story. And it's true, right? Like it's true. And I'm like, I would love to read that start to finish. So yeah, we all have stories and I love what she's doing. Love it.
I agree. I
Mhm.
agree. And then the last piece that I think I personally very really connected with, I know you did too, is when she talked about when you gather women together,
Mhm.
like how magical that is. And it was very interesting to me because we've had our own experiences with that, and here she's involved in different organizations that are all women, and she's experiencing the same thing.
Mhm.
And I do think there is something to how women come together and how enriching and it is for your soul when you're a part of that.
Totally. I mean, that's why we're here, and I loved, as I said during the episode, like, seeing how similar the 2 of you were in so many ways, like, with your
Mhm.
commitment to women and women's groups and finding that magic and getting together with women, and yet being such different people, right? Like,
Mhm.
so different, and right down to your dads, right? Your dad was like a war
Mhm.
hero for getting together, like, it was
Exactly. It's like last to put the gun together kind of thing, right?
I could see I knew her dad, so I could totally picture that, it was great. But, it just shows that we have this commonality no matter what as women that is it's like And if we really can embrace it and amplify it in each other, it's I don't know. The women are amazing. I had a pretty
They are.
I had a tough, like just not a tough week, just a, there's a project finishing up and I'm going out to visit my son. So just, one of those weeks, everything kind of piles into one week and you just, if you're stopping for a second, something's not getting done. It was one of those kind of weeks.
Mhm.
And yet I made time to go down, drive an hour, 20 minutes and go visit my girlfriends because we all found a time to get together for dinner in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah.
And like, totally filled my cup. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just it just gave me the energy I needed to get through the rest of the week, and I'm so glad I made the drive, right? Ju
Yeah.
just being around them and all of us just sharing and so supportively of each other, right? Like, just, group of women who bring each other up in the best ways, and, um, I don't know. I I think it's I think it is magical. I think that's the right word.
And what is it about us, that is to say women, like, it's a struggle sometimes to make the time to do that, and yet every single time you do it, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did it,"
So glad
right?
I did it. Mhm.
And because I've been in the same situation you are where you've got like a million things going on. It'd be so easy to cancel and you'll catch up on this or whatever. And yet when you do what you did and you really put yourself first, you come back energized and almost like ready to tackle it all, right?
It it was like, it was like stopping at the gas station and filling up on inspiration, right? And filling up
Yeah.
on goodness and filling up on, like, encouragement and love and just all these good things. It's such a great group of women. Um, and laughter, lots of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Right? Like,
So
just
important.
because we all, like, will share about our kids and this and that, and, like, it's hysterical because, if every time I share, like, something heavy is happening with my kids, and then somebody else will share something that's much lighter, but it's just as meaningful, and I love that, like, nobody feels like it's like, "Look, this may not be that, but it matters a lot to me, and, like, can we talk about it?" Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's like, "Yeah, because it matters," right? It
Right.
all matters, and just hearing each other and, supporting each other, I don't know. I really I hope I wish we saw even more of this out in, like, the working world and I think we're getting there as women to really start and certainly you starting Circle 200, I feel very supported by women in the workplace and in the professional world. Um, do you think do you think it's better, Liz? I think you hear stories in the past of like women undercutting each other, but I don't that's not my experience out in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely early in my career, I saw women do that.
Yeah.
It didn't necessarily happen to me, but like I worked in a law firm where I did see like female partners not necessarily be supportive of female associates coming up the ranks. And but I feel like we've sort of evolved. At least I hope we have. I don't I feel like if anything we're much more uh you know putting our hand down to reach down and bring up the women behind us than otherwise. I do think that sometimes I this is just me personally. I'll get frustrated if I feel like a younger woman um doesn't take advantage of an opportunity because they think so many opportunities will come their way.
Mhm.
And I, from my experience, have seen that when you close that door, oftentimes other opportunities don't come your way.
Mhm.
And I think it's sometimes short-sighted. So I'll get frustrated when I see that because I think, oh, we worked so hard to make sure
Yeah.
that, all of these opportunities are going out to young women. And then when they're like, it's just not a good time for me. And I'm like, no, that's not what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to say, yes, I'll do it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and I'll make it happen.
yeah.
And yet, I don't know. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe they're smarter in that, we've talked about this in the past. Like, we come from that grinded out generation,
Yeah.
and maybe that's not the way to be. But that's always my worry.
Yeah.
Uh,
Could be a generational thing more than, anything
yeah,
else. It's true,
yeah.
I don't know.
But I have personally not, really felt that. I mean, mostly women have been very supportive in my
Totally,
trajectory, I would say.
totally agree with that. And
Um,
speaking of women and supportive, so you held me accountable. I made my appointment.
how
I
did it go?
Oh my god. So just for anybody who's listening for the first time, a few spark shorts ago, I promised Liz I would make an appointment with a menopause certified OBGYN, and I did. And I went to see her the other day, and Liz, I she came in and sat down, and I feel like she would have talked to me as long as I needed. Like, she just listened to get to know me and heard me out on everything I had to say. And like, I didn't even have to ask about hormones. She's like, "Would you like hormones?" Right? And
Wow.
I said, "Well," I'm like, "You tell me." And she's like, "Well, here's your age and here's," and she went through all these facts, which was like, "So I know that you need, I know what you need right now." And she knew all the studies and she knew all the risks, and she was so knowledgeable, right? Like, so knowledgeable and so like, when you feel like somebody who has really mastered their craft and you're in the presence
Yeah.
of somebody who really understands, and just from the way they talk, from the way they carry themselves, from the way they interact with you, that you are in the presence of someone who is good at what they do. That's how I felt, and that's kind of the way it all went. Um and it was great. Such a great experience, and, like, couldn't be happier right now. So thank you
I
for
am so happy that that those are two things right there, Michelle. Meeting up with your friends and taking care of, a very important health appointment that I'm so proud of you.
thank you.
I'm so very proud of you. That's
Thank you.
important. And you
Yeah.
put yourself first. And it's really hard to do when you're doing all the things that you are doing.
Oh, thanks. I still haven't rescheduled the colonoscopy, though.
You know,
Why does that keep coming up? I don't know. Like, I think that goes back to the first episode.
totally. When we somehow the colonoscopy weaves its way through our conversations. And honestly, it's like the easiest test because you get a cookie at the end. I mean, they give you like a little shot of orange juice and a cookie when you wake up.
But
But
I will say, back to your idea of like the open table, one of the reasons that this worked out so well is because I'm like, "Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to call and it's gonna be the back and forth and it's hard to become
mhm,
a new patient," and like all these things. And I like went online and I'm like, "This is the doctor I'd like," and then all of a sudden there was like it was like open table. It was like, here's this doctor, here's all her available appointments coming up. I picked one,
mhm.
I put it in my calendar. They sent me some paperwork, so it was all done before I got there, and I was scheduled for my next one before I left. It was the easiest. They made it so easy for me,
Yeah.
and if
I think that that is really underrated by healthcare
mhm,
providers. If you have a barrier to entry at all to
forget it.
making that appointment, you're just, people are busy. They're going to be like, I'll get to it later, and then you never do.
I can't. The the I have to find a new colonoscopy place is what I have to do, because when I call, it is the part of their process that they don't like a human doesn't answer. You have to leave a message and then they call back. Well, if you do that
Uh,
when I'm in the middle of my workday, I'm not answering unless it's, like when I call, it's because I have time right then and there to do it. Um, and I won't have time again until my workday's over, especially if I don't recognize the number, And so,
Well,
and,
yeah,
and so it's just, and so I really think it's not just the convenience. It's not just, it's, I think I think that making it easy is also, I don't know how to say this, like, I will be healthier because it was easy, right? I will
exactly.
do what I'm supposed to do because it was easy to make that appointment. Whereas like I'm 4 years overdue for the other one. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like
Mhm.
just because, and it has been because it's been so difficult. Um, and I think that's on me too. And I get that I'm not just blaming, but I'm saying when it's easy, I think for busy women or anyone, men, women, especially men who don't even like to go to doctors, like they'll take any
Right.
excuse to not go. You just, I think it's probably saved lives by making an appointment easier. That might not be too big to say, right? Like that
Well,
might
the
be
thing about it is it's such an easy solve with technology,
low
and
hanging
they've already solved it because obviously the OBGYN menopause specialist that you went to, she has that program
Yeah.
and that's what she's using. And any provider could be using a program like that. And so to me, I hate those. There's enough things in the world that are hard to solve
Yeah.
that something like that should, shouldn't be a barrier.
Low
Um,
hanging fruit. It's just there.
mhm,
It's there and
mhm.
it can it can save lives or it can make people's health that much better. Just don't make that part hard. There's enough that's hard, right? There's enough.
Well, I'm so proud of you for
Yeah.
doing that,
Thanks for
and so
standing with me.
it's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And I hope more women do that because every guest that we've had on talking about, menopause, one of the key things is that you really need to start having these conversations much earlier than you think you do.
Yeah.
You don't want to wait until you're in menopause. There are so many things that you can do to prevent some of the side effects that hormone fluctuations, cause, and there's just no reason to go through it as a woman.
Mhm.
There's a lot of tools um, to resolve that. And so, really, women in their 30s and early 40s should be starting to have these conversations for sure.
Oh, I would 100% agree with that, and wish I told her how, like, bad the 40s were, just the perimenopause
Hmm.
stuff, and,
Hmm.
if I wish I'd known back then, could have saved a lot of grief, but I know now, and this is what we're here to
Yeah,
share like, hopefully, we're helping somebody who's in their early mid-40s and maybe it's not even on their radar like it wasn't for it just
I
wasn't on the
know.
radar. Hopefully, this will help some ladies out there who are waking up with nice sweats.
Exactly.
Whatever it
Well,
may be.
now, we are planning our first in person
Yes.
get together. And you and I both have some travel things going on over the next couple of weeks. So it's
Yeah.
probably going to be, maybe later in June that we get together. But we have a bunch of people that are
No,
interested in getting
it's
together. And I'm so
exciting.
excited.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great because just as we talked about today and with Nora, when you bring women together, there's just something magical about it.
Yes.
And I think we're going to have lots of these conversations, whether it's
Yes.
on menopause or work or whatever, kids, family obligations, all the things.
Or just dumb stuff. Like, let's talk about how many times I've watched Project Hail Mary. Can we go
Oh
over
my gosh.
there? That's how many. That's how many.
I know. I did a deep dive
Yeah.
on a new Amazon Prime show called Off Campus that had really, really attractive young hockey players involved. And I ran into a friend of mine at a party over the weekend, and she said, "Oh my gosh, yes, I binge watched the whole thing twice." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about the second time right now."
Well, I'd like to say I'm watching for Ryan Gosling, but it's Rocky, man. He's just the best, right? Oh, they're both great. It's such a good movie. But yeah, so put in the show notes whatever show you just said you were watching, and I'll do that one next. And we should probably also in the show notes put the website with the for the to find the menopause specialist.
Yes,
Yeah, because
absolutely,
that was quite a
absolutely.
few episodes ago. So, yeah.
Well, I think we should probably wrap it up here. Nora was a fantastic guest. Thank you for introducing her to me. I'm super excited. I hope everybody listens to that show because it was so good.
So great, and please go get your backstory because, you'll
Mhm.
never regret that. That is definitely a decision you'll never regret. If there's one we know,
Absolutely.
it's that. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Aw, thanks, Liz. It was great to see you and talk to you again, as always.
Same, same. Have a great night and a great time with your family.
Thank you.